So I had this bright idea to write out a bucket list of 40 things I wanted to accomplish before I was 40. And some of the things on there, one would question, why ever would you put this on your bucket list? And as I was sitting there looking at all the things I had written down and started to think about who I wanted to join me on this journey of fulfilling all the things on my bucket list. Now, mind you, I'm a lot closer to 40 than I look. So trying to find people to help me go through this journey was quite going to be a task. But this one right here required a special person, my cousin Alana, because I knew that I was not going to do this without my cousin. It would be in this time of thinking about how I was going to get to Hawaii when my cousin was there, because at the time she lived in Belgium. So trying to coordinate our schedules so that we was both in Hawaii at the same time so that I can fulfill this thing, this activity that I had on my bucket list. Well, the way the world works and God moves. And paddleboarding became one thing that I was going to actually be able to do. You see, I would not paddleboard with anybody that I did not trust. And the only person that I trust in the water out of a whole family of surfers is my cousin Alana. I once tried to surf, and my face quickly met the sand. And boy, I tell you, there is nothing like the taste of sand mixed with ocean water. Now you see, as young kids in Hawaii, we are taught to respect the ocean, but just realize that it's a body of water. So I respect the ocean in the aspects that when I say water, water is just a substance to me, but the ocean is a creature that deserves to be respected. So one day, Alana and I was talking about this thing on my bucket list. And I was telling her that I was not going to get in the ocean without her, but she already knew this. The good dynamic between Alana and my relationship was quite odd because my dad was military, so I didn't spend the majority of my life with my cousin Alana. Matter of fact, there was a period of time where I missed her for 10 years. We had no conversation or anything. But the bond between us was so unbreakable. And so we go out with our family one day to one of the bays called Turtle Bay, which you can imagine there's turtles in there. And she's like, come on, let's go get on the paddleboards. They're only $5. Let's go get on the paddleboards. They're only $5. Let's go get on the paddleboards. They're only $5. Is all I kept thinking. Okay, I can do this, I can do this, I can get on this paddleboard. So she says, how about we just get one paddleboard? And I said, no, it's okay, we can get two. I'll get on one, you get on one. So she takes me out into this bay, and here I am thinking, oh my gosh, I'm doomed. Jaws is gonna come through this bay and devour me, and I'm gonna be gone, and this is gonna be the end. And so I have this love-hate relationship with the ocean, where if I can't see the bottom of the ocean floor, I don't wanna be in it. So it's one thing to note that when I am home in Hawaii, I rarely go into the ocean. So for her to get me into this murky bay that had dark waters was quite a feat for her. So I stood on my knees on this day because I was too afraid to stand up. And so I paddled, she was teaching me how to paddle, and she's telling me how to turn and how to move with the ocean. And I couldn't get it. So I was like going this way when I should have been going this way, and I was going this way when I should have been going this way. And I was turning all kind of ways, and I turned straight for the end of the bay. And I was scared to death, and I started panicking, and she noticed the panic on my face because of how she experienced my panics, like, outside of the water. So she paddles in front of me, and she steers me into the right direction where we need to go. On that day, I did not have the confidence to stand up. But this is where the saga of the paddleboard begins. It was June 19th, 2017, so a little over a year ago. And this particular morning, Alana woke up and she said, I'm going out to the water, which was her ritual. We shared a room. So this was her ritual. She got up in the morning, she went out to the water at 7:30 in the morning, every morning. Because, like I said, she lived in Belgium and she was a surfer. So Belgium doesn't have good surf. So she got up and I said, in my sleepy voice, I said, Lana, don't forget, I have to get on the paddleboard. I only have 3 days left here. And she replied back to me and she said, okay, and she closed our bedroom door. And so I rolled over and I was like, okay, I'll be okay. And she comes rushing back into the room and she says, honey girl, get up. Uncle Tim says we can get on the paddle boards. Come on, get dressed. Come on, let's go. In her thick Hawaiian accent. So I sat at the end of the bed and I kind of got a little depressed because I knew once I finished this accomplishment, my vacation would be over in a couple days. So I got dressed and we get into the car, we drive out to the water, and on this particular morning, the sun was shining and the trade winds was blowing and the water was calling me to come frolic in it. Or it might have been calling me because it was going to conquer me again like it had in the past. So we get up and Alana says, come on, let's go. And I said, okay. So we get in the water and she's just laughing and playing. You know, she's a surfer, so the paddleboarding is not hard for her. She gets out there and I'm just kind of watching her. And I stand at the edge of the water and she paddles back in. So when you paddle in, it means you come back to the shore. When you paddle out, it means you're going out to the ocean. So she paddles back in and she comes to me and she says, come on, it's your turn, let's go. I get in the water with the paddleboard. And I'm thinking, oh, this is not so bad. So she goes and swims away and I get on the paddleboard and I stand on the paddleboard, but I start going like this. So instead of falling off, I just kind of jump down. She's laughing. She's like, you can do it, you did it before, you can do it. So I was like, okay. So she comes back over to me and she says, come on, I'll paddle you out some. So just as she starts paddling me out, I'm thinking, oh, this is great. We're further in the shoreline than I think we are. So she's like, come on, get up, get up. So I stand up, again, I'm going like this, and she gives me the paddle and I'm still going like this. And instead of falling off the paddleboard, I jump down. And when I jump down, I jump straight into shore. So my right foot bends straight back. Oh, I can't move. And so I hopped around in the ocean because in Hawaii, the ocean is there for relief. But that day, the ocean didn't give me any relief. As a matter of fact, here I was, Viisha 0, Ocean 3. And it was okay. And this excruciating pain I was in, my cousin still said, get up, you can do this. And I was like, Lana, I can barely walk, like I can't even stand up. And she was like, yes, you can, it's just a sprain. So she kept downplaying the sprain because story goes to find out she too had experienced this once before. So she said, it's just a sprain. She downplays it. And she's like, come on, get on the board. She knew my disappointment. And she said, sit on the end of the board and I'll paddle us out there. So I sat on the end of the board and she was like, no, fix your legs. Fix your legs so that they're over the board like this. And I was like, I'm scared. What if the sharks come? She was like, the sharks are not coming. Just sit on the board and position your legs like this. So I did like she told me to. And she paddled us out near the buoy. Now the buoy is scary because once you make it past the buoy, you now become free food for all the inhabitants of the ocean. So I was scared. I was like, oh no. But as I looked down, I could see the bottom of the ocean floor. Now remember, I'm scared of murky, dark waters. But I could see the bottom of the ocean floor. And it was rocky. It was rocky down there. But I was amazed at how the water still looked like bathtub water, even all the way out by the beach. And I took in and I embraced all of God's creation as I sat at the end of the board, the paddle board. And she said, stand up. You can do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, my leg hurts. My ankle hurts. I cannot get up. And she said it again. Come on, you can do it. So I was like, okay, I can do this. I stood up on the paddleboard, remembered everything she told me about how to paddle, where to look, how to turn. And as I looked straight ahead, I could see nothing but the vast ocean. And I started to get scared, and I panicked. And she yelled from behind me, because she was further away. She said, don't look down, in her thick Hawaiian accent. Don't look down. Keep your face straight forward. And I let that echo in my mind for the next 5 minutes as I paddleboarded like I had been a pro. And as I sat there, I thought about how revelatory this moment was. In those moments, I realized me conquering the ocean that day wasn't the biggest part of what I had sought out to do. But to press past the pain is what you need to do to settle out the accomplishments, to settle out and go through accomplishments that you set out to do. It also reminded me that there's always going to be somebody very close to you that's going to be your biggest cheerleader and is going to cheer you on and remind you that even though they recognize the pain that you're in and the discomfort, they know that you have the capability and the abilities to press past the pain. Like I said, the ocean won that day. And I always will remember the sacredness of its beauty.